Hi everyone, and welcome to Tangling with Danny Girl Art. I'm Danny, and we're gonna make this simple yet beautiful Zendala together today, step by step. So can't wait to see what you come up with. I'm doing it in black and white, but maybe you'll choose to do some color with it. So the supplies I'm going to be using is a white Zendala. I'll be using a black Identi pen. You could use a graphic one as well. See what you have on hand. I'll be using a micron pen, a pencil, a tortillon, and also you could use a white jelly roll or a Signo white Uniball. So that's what I will be using today. I really like how these work on the black ink. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to pick up my micron pen, and the tangle that we're going to work on is Spynes. And I always suggest doing a little practice first, but I'm going to dive right into this. So I like to have things off-centered sometimes. You could certainly do it more in the center, but I am going to start off-center with this. So with my PN, because I want a little bit, I'm thinking big, I want a little bit of a bolder style, so I want a little bit of a thicker outline. I'll be starting off-center, but if you want more whimsical and delicate looking, then I would recommend an 01. So it's a personal preference. One's not better than the other or right or wrong. So starting, like I said, off center, I'm going to start with a pretty wide open swirl, and I'm going to stop about there. From here, I'm going to add, I'll call them spikes, 3 spikes. So where I just ended, I'm going to have a diagonal line and bring it back down to my swirl to make a spike. And I'm going to add another spike coming up this way. And for me, I did attach them here. You decide how you would like to do it. And I'm going to make a third coming down. They don't have to be the same size. You choose what you're comfortable with. So we're going to take where we left off with that spiral, and we're going to bring it around. For me, my hand, it's awkward after practicing going this way. So I come this way, but you certainly do what you are comfortable with. For me, it just feels a little bit more comfortable. From here, I'm going to hollow boss. So I'm going to draw behind. So I'm going to pick up my pen. I'm going to come around to the other side of my spike and start to loop around as if there is like a ring. The spiral is just kind of continuing as if you were doing like Marisu or Printemps. When I get to this one, I'm going to start to add another layer of spikes. So you choose where you'd like to do it. I'm going to add one here, and I'll add one here. Maybe yours goes off the page. It might stay on the Zendala. And then once I have a few in, I'll continue that spiral, making sure I'm hollow balling, drawing behind. And I'm going to continue this line going around these spikes until I get back to about the area where I have added my last new layer of spikes. So I'm going to go in again, and you notice that I'm finding empty areas. They can touch, they can be spread out. So here I have a space. So for me, I feel like it will feel more balanced if I have another spike there. But if I left it like that, I feel like it might tip over. So I'm going to go in here and add another one. Also, I'm going to add one here and one here. Okay, so now I'll take this spiral, I'll continue it. And you can keep adding and continuing in this matter to make it as large or keep it as small as you would like. So I'm coming here and I had a little hesitation because I feel like I wanted to put another spike here. And I'm almost done. Maybe one more. Okay, so I am going to I'm getting a little narrow now, and I am going to stop there with mine. Oh, actually, you know what? Maybe one more. Okay, so from here, I'm going to put my PN down and pick up my graphite pencil and add a wide border going around my tile. I just freehand it. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Just enjoy the process, relax, enjoy yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that as my guide and put my pencil down, pick my micron back up, and I'm going to show you some options. You could definitely leave spines as is. I'm going to, however, go in and add a little droplet in the center. And then where the spikes meet, I'm going to go in and add a little rounding in here just to make it a little bit thicker. So I'm redefining where I like to say valley in. Where they valley in, I'm redefining the line that is there, kind of dropping in a little U shape, and then inking it in. So I'm going to go around and do that in all of these areas. So I've gone in and I've done my rounding, but I've decided that on just the outer ones that I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. So I'm dropping in a little bit more ink for a bolder look. Again, if you want it more delicate, then that's fine. Don't go in and add more. I feel like once I start adding more ink, it looks very gear-like. Part of an engine or some type of metal gear. Okay. Once that is in, I'm going to add a aura just in the inner part of the circle around spines. So I'm going to start from my pencil line here, and I'm going to come around, starting with my aura, turning my tile to make sure my hand's always comfortable. And when I hit the pencil line of the string, the circle border, I'm going to stop. Using my PN still, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go over my pencil now. So important when you're doing something like this to acknowledge this is not going to be perfect, of course, right? But don't just draw you moving your fingers. It's a whole kind of wrist arm movement. So practice doing that. You can even, like practice doing lines. It may be a sketchbook or a journal, and just moving your whole hands, your wrist, your arm, and everything. Okay, so from here, I am going to start with this outer border, sticking with my Micron PN again in black. And I am going to begin with making a zigzag of triangles. Try to keep them wide. We're going to be adding auras into this, like the sample I had shown. So we want to make sure we give ourselves plenty of room. And I'm trying to keep them somewhat equal, but I can already see a few that have gotten a little bit thinner. And as I approach the end of going around, I want to kind of look and see how my spacing is. How many more triangles can I fit? Do I need to purposely make one smaller to meet up at the end? Sometimes it just works out and that's great. So I'm by a spike, so I'm just going to hollow bar now. Kind of just imagining where these lines would go. So now I'm looking at the spacing and thinking, all right, well, that did get a little bit narrower, but that's okay. And I suggest starting in an area that there is overlapping because it will hide the transition of maybe the shape varying in size. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and add 2 auras. The smallest triangle I will ink in. So 2 auras. You could add all your auras and then ink in if you prefer. You could switch or have your Identi pen or Graphic One ready to ink in if you're comfortable using a thicker marker. It really depends on what mood I'm in, to be honest, whether or not I do all the line work and then inking in. I found with this, I kind of did a few and completed a few, and then went back and forth. So we're going to be doing this going all the way around. All right, so I've gone all around. I have hollow barred and I have drawn behind. I think this one, I was just looking at, it looks like maybe a little piece of it would be showing. All right, so next step is to take a thicker marker like the Identi pen. And I'm now going to ink in the rest of this circle all in here. So I do like to go in and kind of outline the edge to make it thicker so that I stay neat. And I always find that short lines versus long lines work nicer. So I encourage you to try that out and see how you feel with it. And I'm trying to get all of my white spots. I want it to really be a nice, rich black. take your time with it. I do find that the Identity pen sometimes does bleed a little bit. So when I'm outlining, I don't press down hard. I feel like if I put too much pressure down, it does bleed a little bit. But with a lighter touch, I have less of that happening. All right, so I'm gonna go and finish filling this in. There you have it, I'm all inked in. The next tangle that we're going to do is Victory. And I'm going to just flip my tile over just to show you quick. I love this, it's very simple, but I feel like it's so pretty. It's V's. So it's a wide V with a line down the center with some dots. So start off with a larger one and then get smaller. And then you just start to build more V's off of one another. Really delicate, and I think this will complement the bolder look that we have on our tile. Very, very, very pretty tangle, I love it. So I'm going to take my white jelly roll. I like to just make sure the tip of it's okay. You can test it on the back of your tile if you need to. And you can start anywhere with this. I am going to turn my tile and think about this for a moment. I'm going to just start here in this big space. I have a lot of room to work in here. So I'm going to, with my white jelly roll, go in and make a nice V. Add the line in the center. Start with a larger dot at the end. Some nice little small ones. Be aware of where you put your hands because these are going to be wet, so be careful. And I'm going to make another V here. And maybe I'll have one coming here. Play around, turn your tile, look at it, see where you would like to add some. Maybe rather than have the dots, I'll just have a parter one coming there. I could have, if I feel like I look at the space and there's still a lot of space, because I did do this different than this one here. Okay, I put them in different spots, and these I did a little bit smaller. So this I started drawing a little bit larger, but maybe there's a one V that's coming from behind spines, and then that stick has the little dots coming this way. And then that kind of takes care of that space there. Again, maybe the same thing here. It's off in the background, and now I kind of feel like I'm getting like a space look in this. Super cool. And I'm gonna do another line here. So you have to be a little creative and imagine where these are going to go. I was about to put my jelly roll away, but I can't control myself. I'm gonna do a few more here, and I can always come back into. Okay, so that I'm going to put aside, and I'm going to give this a moment to just dry. Want to be careful with that. And I'll take out my, excuse me, my pencil and my tortillon. I'll rotate my tile this way so I give that the opportunity to dry. All right, let's look for areas that are overlapping. So I'm going to start around this center spiral, adding a nice heavy coat of graphite. And I'll tortillon that out. Now, if you feel like you are scrubbing at your pencil and it's not blending and softening up to this beautiful look, then odds are that you need to go in and add a little bit more graphite. I like bold. I'll even at the end go back in and add some more. And sometimes if I really want it dark, I'll take a 4B pencil and go in there. So I'm going to look for what is overlapped. This spike's in front, making a shadow on everything else. So I will add graphite on the side of that and again, blend it out. You might like to add all your graphite first and go in and do the tortillon. I do enjoy doing a little bit at a time to make sure I'm happy with how it's progressing. And also now these layers where the spirals are curving on top of another, we would want some graphite as well. So just look and see what is behind. Those behind areas are where the shadows go. It can be a little overwhelming if you're new at tangling, if you're new at art and shading. So be patient with yourself. It will just become intuitive after you've had enough practice with this. And the worst thing that happens is you put a shadow in the wrong spot. There really is no wrong spot. There's no mistakes with this, so just keep going. If I put something somewhere with shading that I was like, oops, I wish I hadn't done that, I don't erase, I just leave it. It will blend together. It's not going to stand out to others. I don't always like to make like such a perfect line either. I like to have it a little bit more frayed and jagged on the edge. I find that it makes it smooth out a little bit better, and play around using little circular motions as well. That will help with blending too. That center spiral part now is looking quite white to me as I'm finishing up with these shadows. So I'm just looking at it as I'm shading, glancing at it from time to time. And I think I'm going to take my dirty tortillon and come around like this. Could add a little bit of a shadow in here where it's overlapping. Beautiful, love it. I'm just going back in and kind of just going around and seeing where I want to just smooth it a little bit more. Okay, next I'm going to go along this whole inner ring and add graphite. If you're scared to press hard and be bold, do layers. Start off lighter. Blend it, see if you want to make it darker. You can always go in and make something darker, but taking back is where things get tricky. And I'm going to go around the spike here as well. So these little points I'm going around. And then before I take my tortillon, I'm also going to add a thin line around the outside of the circle. I don't go over these really inked in areas. I kind of just, sometimes I do, but I lighten up a little bit with my pressure. And the reason I lighten up is if you press too hard on the black areas, you get a very silver metallic look on it. And it just creates a little bit of a glare. Again, personal preference, I prefer not to have that on my tiles. Okay. So when I use my tortillon to blend these two sides towards the center, I want to make sure that I'm still leaving white in the center. I also, with the tortillon, when I get to a dark area, I take the pressure off of the tortillon as well, because that area is just a little bit compromised and it can get picked up on my tortillon, that bold ink. So now I'm just looking at it, and I might have some white spots that I missed. So I like to go in and tidy up the edges a little bit, and I won't probably even revisit the tortillon in these areas. I'm just tidying up a little bit. Really cool how it's popping out now. So this is how I finished and left it on my sample. My other one was quite a bit larger, so it had less background, so you can see how it can vary. I think everything in general was smaller on the one I did today, except for the Victoria. But I didn't include in our supplies today a white charcoal pencil, but I just want to show you how this could be a different look. So if you have, this is a General's charcoal white. If you had a white and you wanted to go in along the center of this ring, trying not to pick up pencil because it's gray, we want to keep this white, you could give this a try. So again, it's going to be a personal preference. And then I'll have one more thing that you can play around with also. So let's look at these side by side so you can see a little bit of a difference, how this highlight kind of brings a different type of life to our Zendala. The other thing you could do, if you'd like, is take a white jelly roll again, and you could run it And kind of like just do it a little bit like broken up around the center as well. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my Micron PN, and I hope you really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with this Zendala, and I would love for you to subscribe and to my YouTube channel and share it with others, because I love sharing my love for Zentangle with everyone. So decide which way you want to hold it. Add your chop somewhere. I keep turning it. I'm very undecided. And don't forget to sign the back and date it. And if you create this tile and you want to share it with me, please do so, and at hashtag DANIGIRLART. I also have a Facebook page with named DANIGIRLART that I would love for you to like and post your tiles there as well. All right, hope you had fun, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.